I am here with Dr. Samantha Pillay, and she is the author of the Inspirational Careers for Kids Picture Book Series. And I am so happy to have Samantha, Dr. Samantha Pillay, with us. How are you today?
Very well, thank you, Ebony. Fantastic to be here. I'm very happy as well.
And I just want to, because we were just chatting about our different time zones, and y'all have to know that Samantha is up early around what, 6 a.m. your time?
Yes, yes. Well, it's just going 6 a.m. now, so as you can see, I haven't just got out of bed, um, but it is early. Yes.
That is, I was just telling her earlier, she's a trooper because to
Well,
get,
as a surgeon, I'm pretty used to early starts. In actual fact, I usually am up before this, because I'll often start operating at 8 a.m. So I've got to be scrubbed and ready to go by 8.
I didn't even think, I forgot all about that, yeah, you are a surgeon. So I'm sure the hours are crazy
Yeah.
as a surgeon. You're needed like basically 24 at any time, 24/7.
Well, I'm lucky with the area that I've chosen that I actually don't, have a lot of emergency surgery
Mm.
because of the specialty that I'm in. And so I don't have to get up in the middle of the night very often,
Okay.
luckily, anymore. I'm too old for that. I
Well,
did, I did that.
yeah, I'm very happy for you because just thinking about that is not, I'm already feeling in my body like I want to go back to sleep. Anyways, so tell us, Samantha, what inspired you to write this inspirational careers for kids picture book series? Because I know you have an interesting story.
Yes, well, it started with one, like I'm sure most book series start. And I when I trained as a surgeon, by the time I finished over 20 years ago, less than 4% of surgeons were female. And I was the first female in South Australia to do urology. That's my surgical specialty. And I faced a lot of gender barriers and stereotypes. And I wanted to break those stereotypes. I didn't really have a lot of role models at either growing up. I never worked with a female surgical consultant. I was finished. I became a female surgeon before I ever saw a fully qualified female surgeon in real life myself, in the operating theatre. So with those, I felt that you can't be what you can't see, and having those role models is really important for a young girl to be able to have that vision, that dream. And I've achieved a lot, but I do feel that in actual fact, when I see every opportunities there are for other people, if I'd actually had those role models, then I might have dreamed bigger. I might have got there faster. I might have had a clearer focus. Might have been an easier path. I might have actually even achieved more in life. So I wanted to break those gender stereotypes. So my first book, When I'm a Surgeon, is a little girl, and I wanted them to be able to imagine that. In addition to breaking the stereotypes, overall, surgery, often people have quite a sort of narrow view of what being a surgeon is. They think they see patients, they operate, that's it. But in actual fact, surgery as a career creates so many opportunities in life. And I've actually written an article, I sort of write articles on my website about why surgery should actually be the number one career choice for women in medicine, not the last career choice. Everyone thinks, oh, if you're a woman, that's the last career choice you want to do. That's why the numbers are so low, because it's bad for the family.
Mm.
But in actual fact, as we were just talking, by the time I had my son, I was used to jumping out of bed in the middle of the night, getting dressed and operating on someone with a life-threatening emergency. So by the time I had a kid, a lot of women struggle. I had to get up in the middle of the night, stay in my pajamas and do a night feed. I mean, I was well trained for sleep deprivation,
Right.
so the skill set, obviously, there's financial advantages, but it's not that. It's the flexibility, it's the autonomy. So as a medical career, as a surgeon, sometimes you have more autonomy and control over your hours. You're able to call the shots, so to speak. So I actually think it's the ideal career choice, and that's one of the articles I wrote about. So with the first book, When I'm a Surgeon, it shows beyond the operating theatre. It shows that she can, do public speaking, travel, medical research, teach others. So it encompasses and allows people to think beyond what a career in surgery can hold. So to hopefully attract people to see that this is a great career option, but also a really family-friendly career option. I don't know where the myth was that if you're a woman, it was going to be a bad career choice. That must have been started by the guys.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted that, uh, and to break those gender stereotypes. Those career gender stereotypes really start to form at about age 3. So you've got to get in early.
Hmm. I think that most people, from mothers, most people think that any career choice is a bad choice. Because I think as a woman, a lot of people have this stereotype, this belief that your primary job is to be the mother. So you're supposed to stay at home all the time and take, so any career you choose, and God forbid if it's a surgeon where you got to help all these other people in addition to your child, please. I think there's a lot of that stigma attached with it.
And that's another sort of area that I write and talk about, because I grew up in a home where I had a stay-at-home mum, and it was, all
Yeah.
the cooking, and I feel really good as a mum when I can cook a meal and clean the house, and I don't get the same warm fuzzy feeling if I operate. I do for my patients, but I don't for my son if I operate and bring home the bacon and allow him to have educational opportunities. I mean, is that crazy? So
Exactly right. Yeah.
the one of the other things I write about is this overcoming working mum guilt, and really identifying who you are as a woman. And because I know for me, everyone's different. I know for me, I need something where I'm learning new skills, I'm engaged, I'm contributing. So I wouldn't be happy in that role. And once I recognized that I wouldn't be happy in that role and I was a better mother, that helped overcome that working mum guilt. When you look at the skills that I've attained and the ability for me to pass those skills on to him that I would never have been able to contribute if I hadn't had a career as a surgeon. And networking, the people that he's got to meet, he's been all over the world,
Mhm.
and knows convention centres off by heart. So one of the stories I tell is when he was 3, I picked him up from kindy, and the kindy teacher said, he had all the stuffed toys around him today, and he was having a board meeting. It was something, because he'd been to so many board meetings, and he's just won a public speaking competition because he's used to hearing me speak, and he's only a teenager. So I think that allows you to sort of look at what happens as a parent. And the other thing is, I think it's a very male model, what you're talking about, where you separate work and kids, and I believe, if women had designed the workplace, we would have integrated it. I mean, you look back through history and how many women, if they were in agriculture or whatever, had their kids with them. And so I see it again, the opportunity of my career is, all those things that he's been to my public speaking, that he's been to the board meetings. I combine the career. I see everything I do as work. There's an opportunity to teach him life skills. And then I'm not trying to separate the two.
That's beautiful. Yeah. It's like all the residual, the rich residual stuff that overflows to your kids, right? It's amazing. So the main characters of your book series, are they all girls?
Yes. So
Okay.
obviously, I'm trying to even the scale. And one of the problems is for women still to break the glass ceiling. And those gender stereotypes, which I mentioned, start forming at age 3. We want girls to make career choices in high school. It's already too late. You need to do something beforehand. And for me, I really feel that the fundamental building block is self-efficacy, self-belief. If you can instill that in young girls, they will then have the ability for resilience, perseverance in adversity, and overcome the barriers that are still there. So that's why it's a picture book series aimed at that age group. The second, one of my other passions is business, and I've had a business for 20 years. I built from scratch a medical center practice, and which I still run as well in my spare time between the surgery and the books. And so the second book was when I was an entrepreneur, and it again is looking at that sort of glass ceiling and building that self belief for young girls to really achieve those goals. Often society, um, everywhere where books parents, there's just this like little, like a ceiling really, that's just put, girls go so far, but don't go too far, don't be too ambitious. You can go so far, that's good, but as soon as it's really lofty, well, you really think you should be doing that? What are you going to give up? Is kind of our attitude.
Mhm.
So the third book that I'm working on is When I'm an Astronaut, which
Which
is
we're
due
gonna
for
get
release.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but before we get to that one, let's talk about the point of view, because I know you write in first person point of view, and I think this ties into what you were just saying. I mean, the sharing your story about how you, as a young girl, didn't really have these wonderful female role models that you could see yourself kind of stepping into their shoes as a director of this or a CEO of this, or doing whatever they wanted to do instead of I didn't just say just, I didn't mean that. I mean, instead of being regulated by society to just one role as a caregiver or mother. So does that first person voice come from that inner child within you that's like, I want to see
The
women?
inner child within them. So a lot of books that are written about careers, it tells them about, what it is to be a doctor or whatever, engineer or something like that. But by writing it in the first person, the biggest part of the book is not what's in the book, it's what's in the reader's imagination. So the wording is very, very simple. And I loved sharing books with my son when he was little. Obviously, he's a teenager now, so I'd have to read to him. And I found he was a very smart kid, and he still is a smart kid. And I struggled to find books that really, especially even at that age, 3, 4, 5, 6, were deep enough for him. And the great conversations we had were the conversations that went deeper into the book. So I wanted there to be, the book is just the door to open. And I think the beautiful thing when you're reading books with kids, if it opens conversations, you don't just flick through the pages and get to the end. That's the story. So the story is in the little girl's head or the little boy's head. The story is in their ability to imagine themselves in that role and go deeper. And that allows a sort of more advanced or older or smarter kid to extend themselves. So I don't want every girl to be a surgeon. I want every girl to believe that she could be a surgeon
Mhm.
and allow themselves to imagine themselves in that role. So
Mhm.
the book is not about me, the book is about them.
Right, yeah. So if you're that little girl and you're reading that story in first person, it's like you take some ownership. Like, I can do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. So I think you touched when you were just talking. I think you touched on the deeper meaning that's in your stories. I mean, you're talking about having these really in-depth conversations with your son. So what are some of the deeper meanings in the images in your book?
Yeah, so it's through the images. So the wording is very simple. When I'm a surgeon, I'll be called doctor. When I'm a surgeon, I make scientific discoveries, and it allows repetition, which is a good way for children of that age to learn more complicated words that they wouldn't, entrepreneur, words they would not normally have learned, but they're quite capable of learning. And so the repetition allows that. The images is where it allows it to go deeper. So it started with When I'm a Surgeon, a little deeper into what a surgeon went. And when I was an entrepreneur, each book it's kind of going even deeper because I get more into it. That allows a lot more reading. It also makes it more interesting for the adult because often you're reading these books over and over again and you're having conversations, and so it does give some information there for the adult. So say for example, in When I'm an Entrepreneur, one of the images is, when I'm an entrepreneur, I'll do things differently, which is one of the key qualities. Now, the image is a little girl on a unicorn, because often that's associated with being different from everything else or unique. And she's wearing a blue striped t-shirt. Now, if people are entrepreneurs or in business or tech, they will know that Stripe, the payment platform, is one of the top unicorn companies in the world. And so there's this link here, and the striped t-shirt she's wearing is in the blue or blurple color of the Stripe company logo. So little things like that. Now, the other thing is on one of the pages, she's got a little picture of a dishwasher in her bedroom, like in a frame. Why would you do that? The Josephine Cochrane, who was one of the pioneer female entrepreneurs in the 1800s who invented the dishwasher, how many inventions are there other than the car that came out at the same time still are there today? And she was one of the leading entrepreneurs. She was well, she did this after her husband died. So I'm a single mum. And I write little backstories. So people go to my website. I've written an article about her. I've written an article about the little deeper meanings in the books that people can look at. So it might interest an older child, it might interest an adult, or it allows that adult to have little discussions if they, don't know a lot about some of those things. And like one of the pages, the entrepreneurs, sitting back on her desk, reading the newspaper, and you can't see what the articles are on the front page of the newspaper, but I have written all of those articles. And so you can actually go to my website and read the articles on the newspaper in the book. And so those little Easter eggs that I love putting into the book, and there's going to be a lot more in When I'm an Astronaut.
You know what? That kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. Where's Waldo was like super popular, where you have to find where's Waldo was like. So if you're looking at these images in your book, you're looking for the little messages, right? Like, and I think it's wonderful. And when you were talking about the unicorn and how that relates to Stripe. You know what image I just got was when I was a kid, there was this cartoon called Rainbow Bright that was like super popular. And Rainbow Bright, I think she lived in this like rainbow land or something, but she wore like this multicolored striped uniform, and she had a unicorn too. And I remember she just really represented to me the the power of really being yourself and being unique and just taking real ownership of who you are. And I think that's just very much related to your message.
Yeah, I think it's a key quality for people who are going to excel or rise up
Yeah.
above those uh, challenges, because these are careers that take a lot of work. You're going to have stumbling blocks, you're going to have setbacks, so you've really got to be able to um, run your own race.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. So tell us about the companion book that has activities. What type of activities are these for kids to do?
Yes, so each book has a activity book, which again for older children, but there's different things in there. There's some sort of there's colouring in and dot to dot, but there's also word searches and word unscrambles, and they are really there because I have a really intelligent kid, and I finished school when I was 16, and so there's a there's sometimes you know the only way to actually extend kids is to take them to another year level as such, but they still want play and imagination. So the word searches aren't the usual word searches you would find in activity books. They have things like shareholders and globalization and billionaire for the When I'm an Entrepreneur. So it really extends the vocabulary around that career.
Mhm.
And with a word search, you don't really have to know the word or have to spell it. You just have to be able to recognize it. But it's a really good way of introducing these complicated words that you suddenly might find your small child's rattling off. Hopefully,
Mhm.
after doing the activity books.
Mhm.
There are colouring pages that people can download for free. So on my website, there's some sample colouring pages that you can just download for free to have some fun.
That is so funny. I was listening to this podcast. It's a business podcast, and this a woman she owns her own runs her own business, but she said that when she was a child, she would read to her grandmother because her grandmother's eyes were starting to fail her. So her grandmother would ask, "Can you please read me the business section of the newspaper?" And so this little girl, and she's like 7, 8 years old, she picked up all this information about business. And so one day they had this activity in class where they had to write down what they wanted to be when they grow up. She's like, "I want to be the CEO of Coca-Cola." And the teacher called her parents in for a parent conference because she just thought that was so bizarre. Like, but she was introduced to all of those rich vocabulary words, all of the terms, all of the everything, because she actually read the business
And that's
section.
exactly what these books are about. That's how it
Yeah.
starts. There's so many people. They saw the you know landing on the moon, and they decided at that point, as a small child, I'm going to become an astronaut. When I interviewed people with when I'm a surgeon. You know, so many of the leading female surgeons in the world said, you know, when I was a small child, I used to pretend to operate on my toy panda or something. So
Mhm.
it is actually how it starts. You know, they have a vision and a dream, and that is what this is about, because everything else is secondary. And I think that that self belief is really fundamental. It's how women see women and how men see women. And this is part of a bigger picture. If you can change that, it changes how women see women, how men see women. I think it's behind the gender pay gap, it's behind domestic violence. You know, all these issues that we have, we've got to fundamentally change how women believe in themselves.
So now let's talk a little bit about the astronaut story, because that is so fascinating. Whenever I think of an astronaut, I just automatically default to the image of a male going to the moon. Tell us a little bit about this is your third book?
This is the third book, When I'm an Astronaut. So this is really a lot of fun. So obviously I got addicted to writing books, doing the series, and it's starting to have fun. Now, I have some experience that I could apply to the first two books, but I have never worked in the space industry. So uh, what it meant was a huge learning curve. Now, I loved physics. It was my favorite subject, and I did incredibly well in physics. I didn't pursue a career in physics because in the sort of mid 1980s, I could be in my mind at that stage of life, all I knew was a high school teacher or a university lecturer in physics. So I chose medicine and surgery as a career path because I could have a bigger vision. Now, it's, you know, imagine if I just had even greater visions than that. So I have had to do a lot of research, which has been a lot of fun, learning about astronaut training and space missions and, you know, following the NASA web page and
Yeah.
videos, the watching launches and interviewing people. And that's allowed me to develop all these little Easter eggs in the book for the space industry. I wanted to write a book that an astronaut would be proud to read their kid, because as a surgeon, you know, a lot of times I see stuff on TV and you like roll your eyes, of like, you know, if you're in the industry, you go, oh my God, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. So then what it does is, obviously I'll have articles on my website where people can read more about it. And so it's an opportunity for people other than me to learn about the space industry if they don't know the little things, the little details in there. So little things like, you know, the International Space Station is featured in there, and people who know that will recognize what part of the International Space Station it is. But the handles on the International Space Station on the inside are blue. The ones on the outside are yellow. So little details like that. Or if they have a spacewalk, the leader of the spacewalk has a red band on them to identify them as the leader. So there'll be lots of little details, and some relating to space history, that I'll be writing about on the website that people will be able to research so they can learn about the space industry. But if people are already knowledgeable about the space industry, they're going to have a lot of fun spotting it. And the ability for people who are in that industry to be able to read these books, which I found with When I'm a Surgeon. You know, there's so many surgeons and even doctors that just had absolute delight in being able to then talk about their work with their kids, which we should all do. And that goes back to my theory about the fact that we should combine our work with parenting, not try and separate the two. So if people want, I'll be releasing, they can join my mailing list on my website, and I'll be releasing, I don't really send out many newsletters, like, you know, one or two a year. But if I write a new book, then I will have a pre-order, so they can sign up for the pre-order and any promotional offers that we have when the book's released as well, relating to that, and all the exciting backstory.
Yeah, that sounds so exciting. I mean, my goodness, they, at my job site, I work at a high school, they recently had this ceremony for the seniors that will be graduating next month, where they each got on stage and declared where they got accepted and what they were going to major in. There was one girl who got up there. I can't remember what university she's going to. UC something, I don't remember. But she's like, I'm going to major in astrophysics. I said, what? I didn't, you know what? Honestly, I didn't even know what astrophysics was. I had to look it up. But I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
right. It's having those visions, those options that are presented, so that you know, there was other things I could have done that I didn't even know about. Obviously, you know, back then they didn't exist. So, you know, I'd love to be a kid now. It's so many more options, and having that belief and knowing what those options are, and then having that passion and believing you can do it is what is required to overcome. I had to do like 14 years of training or whatever to become a surgeon. You're not going to do that unless you have a passion in what, you really believe in it,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
to do all the work.
And this is why your series is so important because it just introduces all of these wonderful opportunities and for young girls particularly that they probably would never even be exposed to. So this is wonderful. And I want you to tell us, Samantha, where we can find you online.
So my website is my name, samanthapillay.com. So if people go to my website, they can find out all about the books. There's all my social media links for LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are all on their website. So that's the easiest way to find me. And the books are all available on Amazon and all the online retailers as either print or ebook versions.
Mm. And let's say that there are, because you never know, there might be some young viewers, maybe not elementary school age, but high school aged girls who are thinking about what am I going to do? I have to pick a career, and I don't. Do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement for young women that are in that space where they're just trying to figure things out?
So the first thing that I do is get a lot of information, talk to people. And now, with the internet, the ability to get information is exceptional. And you can go straight to the leaders, whether it's a TED talk or something on YouTube, and try and get as much information as you can from the people at the very top so that you can follow your passion, because that you've got to have a passion, and you'll find it. There'll be something where you'll go, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how much work it is. And I don't care even if I didn't get paid. This is what I want to do. Then you've got the right thing to follow your dream, follow your passion, because there'll be times where all of that will be true. And so then my next advice would be dream big, aim high. That is the dedication of each one of these books. Dream big, aim high. Dare to dream big. Whatever you think, double it, triple it, and just let your imagination go there, because
Wow.
you never know where you'll end up.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Samantha. I am going to chat with you for a minute, but thank you so much to our viewers for tuning into this episode of Bookish, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.